So today I made a top 10 list for Smash Ultimate players with a couple of honorable mentions. I want to go over the honorable mentions first, but I feel like enough offline has been happening that I can make a solid top 10 list. We all know who number 1 is, no offense, so I'm actually making it a top 11 list because that one's not as fun. So it's 10 contentious players, and then the number 1 who I'll get into when I get into that. But first, let's go over a couple of honorable mentions. First off, in honorable mentions is going to be Goblin. Goblin top-8'd both majors he went to with Roy, has got a lot of good wins, including wins over Dabuz and Tweak, but he hasn't cracked the upper echelons of an event. He hasn't got like 4th or 3rd or something like that at an event. And even though he's been really good, I do worry about his consistency because he hasn't gone to too much, and even though he's really good and he's been playing a lot better, I want to see him go to more before I can comfortably put him in top 10. Speaking of which, I want to talk about the Roy who has gone to a lot of events and is having a little bit of trouble being consistent but has peaks that are better than Goblin's, and that is Cola. Cola, of course, got 3rd at Glitch 8.5. He got 4th, I think, at SmashCon, but also has had a couple of like 17ths and 13ths and 33rds. So not super great placements. His peaks are really high and his lows are not super great. While he's amazing, he does still have a couple of bad, it seems like, matchups or mental blocks, or he's just worried about losing. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I love Cola as a player. He's a good dude. I get to talk to him at Smash World Tour, and I'll probably talk to him about mindset just because I'm curious. Both of these players are like really good and honestly neck and neck. I think Goblin's a little more consistent, but Cola has like the potential to just consistently do better, but he's not being consistent yet, which is the problem. Of course, like 33rd is still like a good placement, right? Like it's not saying it's bad, but Cola hasn't been doing as good consistently as I feel like a lot of people, including himself, know he can. The third honorable mention is Louis Money. Louis Money has, as I mentioned, kind of similar to Goblin, top-8'd I think everything he's been to. He got 7th at Port Priority, he got 7th at Riptide, and I think he got 7th at Low Tide. I know he lost to Spargo, or maybe he got 5th at one of those. I'm not 100% sure. But either way, Louis Money's been doing really well. The only reason I don't put him in top 10 is he's been getting these top 8s without beating a ton of super top players. He hasn't really been beating the players on this top 10 list. Granted, he kind of should have beat Spargo low-key at Low Tide, and then like the weird like Cloud Stock happened and that put him down in the set and stuff like that. But I just feel like Louis Money hasn't really been beating the other people in the top 10. So he's more like a gatekeeper to the top 10. It's like, oh, if you're beating Louis Money, that's probably a good sign for you. But he hasn't beat the people like Tweak or Leo or Spargo or, you know, most of these people, like a couple of them are Japanese, which isn't really fair because he doesn't have the opportunity to play them. But I feel like he's not beating the other top 10 people on this list or the actual top 10 people. So to me, he's right under it. Another honorable mention is Mr. Busby himself, Dabuz. The reason he's honorable mention and not top 10 is I feel like one of the best parts about Dabuz, at least pre-pandemic, was his consistency. Dabuz basically only lost to other super top players. It would be like Leo, Tweak, Meister, Mars. Well, actually, he beats Mars consistently. So like a couple of basically players that were really good, like the top 10 or 15 PGR, as well as like maybe occasionally losing to a Shulk player like Nico, who has a winning record over him. But the problem is, even though he had the high of 2nd at Low Tide City, beating Leo in winners, he just hasn't been as consistent. That is his only top 8 since the quarantine. He didn't get top 8 at Summit, granted he ran into Leo in losers. He didn't top 8 at Glitch, he didn't top 8 at SmashCon, and so he got 2nd at Low Tide City, which was really, really good for him and really impressive, and he beat a lot of good players there. But at the same time, I feel like Dabuz hasn't had the consistency that even a couple of these players on the honorable mention list have had, like Goblin and Louis Money. He hasn't been that consistent. He has a higher peak of them, but he has more consistent lows than them, so I just really don't think he is in the top 10/11 conversation. Like, Dabuz is such a wall of a player against the majority of people, or at least was, and now I feel like he's struggling to do some more. He's 0-2 with Waddy, which again, Waddy's really good and no shots at him, but it's like a random relative person to lose to. It's not like he's only losing to Leo or only losing to, you know, super top 10 players clearly, and that was what he was doing before, or he would lose to someone and then make it all the way back to like 5th, and like that currently isn't the Dabuz that we know. Unfortunately, I love Dabuz. I think he's super good. I love him as a player. I love how he plays. I hate playing him, and yeah, that's why he's not anything but an honorable mention. And the last honorable mention is going to be Mars. You could definitely argue him on this list, clearly. He's got top 8 a couple times. He got 4th at Summit and 4th at Low Tide, but he has seen some lower placements. I think he got 33rd at Riptide. He got 7th at SmashCon as well. He's been doing really well, but I just feel like he needs something a little bit more to beat these top players in this. Like, I think the only person he has a winning record or a win against recently that he's played against in this set is Meister, and that's still not a super fun matchup. You could definitely argue him over, at the very least, the bottom, like 2 of the bottom people, but he's been really, really difficult to pin down because he could get 7th, but again, he hasn't really had the super strong peaks. He's not got a 3rd or a 2nd or a 1st, and he's got a 17th and a 13th, I think, and a 33rd, you know, the Panda memes, right? So I'm not exactly sure if he's higher. I'm also going to be very biased for one of the people in the top 11 list, so that could change. But Mars has been really good, obviously, but I definitely want to see him peak more and also, you know, shore up his consistency, which is something I feel like a lot of people need to do currently, even the people on the list, because there's so many good people nowadays in the meta. So many people have gotten better over online. The meta has shored up. There are more characters, etc., etc. Like, this is an open playing field. I feel like the only person that is definitively in their spot is the number 1, and I feel like anything can change on a day-to-day basis. I literally made this list like 2 weeks ago before SmashCon and then before Port Priority and KageDB5, and it was a very different list. But with that said, let's get into the top 11. So again, I have 10 people and then the number 1, and we all know who the number 1 is. And it's not going to be in a definitive order. It's basically in clumps of people, and I'll let you know. The first clump is 3 people. The first one of that is going to be me. Hi, I think I'm really good. I won Glitch 8.5. I beat Leo. I'm the only person with a winning record on Leo. I feel like I have a really good chance against a lot of the people in the top 10, except for Meister, basically. Like, I look at these and I'm like, okay, Meister would probably definitely beat me, and then T will probably beat me. I feel like I'm very confident versus every other player on the list. The issue that I have is the fact that I will more likely lose to a 15 to 25 player than some of these other players who are only going to lose to the top 10, but they have harder times against the top 10. Pikachu's busted. I did poorly at SmashCon. I mean, poorly. I got like 17th, but I lost to 2 people I probably shouldn't have, especially not Apollo Kage. But I have my reasons for that, but I'm not going to John super hard on this video because I don't care to do that. But I feel like if I continue to do well, I will prove that I am top 10. If not, then put Mars above me. I don't really care. That's fine. It's very difficult to see anyone be consistent. There have been very few consistent people, and the ones that have are the ones at the top of the list, to be honest. But I feel like everyone outside of the top like 5 or 6 is inconsistent basically anywhere. So inconsistency is important, but that's why you can put any of the honorable mentions above me. You can put Cola, Louis Money, Mars, Goblin above me. But I just feel like I have higher peaks considering I won a major, and that's the only reason I'm putting myself on this list and not honorable mention. The other person in this category is Light. I would say Light is definitively above me on the list because he's only really been to 2 majors. He's been to a couple of regionals that he won, and he beat Mars there. He got 5th at Glitch 8, and then he won SmashCon, and he hasn't really gone to anything else. So he's basically more consistent and has the peak that I do, just without the Leo win, essentially. But he's been incredible. Like, he got, again, 5th at SmashCon. He did really well at the regionals he's been to. I don't think he's lost a tournament except for Glitch that he's been to since the quarantine ended. So that's really impressive. That is incredibly impressive for Light. I think he's definitively top 10. Oh wait, no, he didn't. He got 7th recently at the New York Regional. He lost to Atomisk and Tilde. But either way, that's still a top 8. It's not bad. Losing to Atomisk is kind of crazy though. But I definitely think that Light is a top 10 player. He's an incredible player. His rushdown's incredible. And even in a meta where people say that Fox isn't good, they're wrong, and they've always been wrong, and everyone that says Fox is bad is stupid. But anyway, let's continue to the next player, and that is going to be Elegant. I think Elegant is, just to compare to a different player, essentially a slightly more peaking version of Mars, where he got 4th at 2 events, but he beat Tweak. He almost beat Leo, and he's almost beat a lot of people, and he's beat a ton of people. He almost beat Spargo, and he's been getting these big wins in order to get top 8. However, he is still inconsistent. He got 17th at Port Priority. Granted, he lost to Tweak in losers, and who did he lose to in winners? Did he lose to Skyjane winners or something? The Incineroar? Crazy. And then he got 17th at SmashCon, losing to DeBuzz in losers, and I think he lost to like Spargo in winners or something, like some other really good player. So Elegant, I feel like, has those highs, and again, if you want to swap Elegant for someone in the honorable mentions, that's fine, because again, his issue is consistency. I feel like Luigi's issue is consistency, and he's been doing really well in my opinion. He's had some okay lows. Like, I don't think 17th is bad, especially considering the people he's lost to in losers are DeBuzz and Tweak, which are really good players. So he's been doing incredibly. I feel like he is really close at knocking on the door of people like Leo and Spargo and like Meister and stuff like that. And I feel like he can get those wins, and he has those highs but he just needs to see more consistent top 8s for him to be higher on this list. That's going to be it for the first section. I definitely think I would put myself at definitively like 11 or 10 and elegance there, and then light would be above us, but I'm not trying to order this list super hard because that would be very difficult. And let's go with that up unto the top 8 players, starting with Proto Banham. A new Japanese PR came out and Proto Banham was number 1, but KageDB5 just happened this last weekend and he got 4th or something like that, so him doing slightly worse than he was before. The other list I put him as the highest Japanese player. He was in a higher tier than this, but I think that Proto is an incredible player. He's so talented. The combination of Min Min and Lucina is really good, really strong. I definitely think he is incredible. I want to see him come to the States and do really well, and I want to see him consistently do better in Japan. His Min Min is by far the best, and that's no shots at myself or Pink Fresh or any of the Min Mins in the States, or like DeBuzz. He's just better. He's simply just better, and I need to study him because he's incredible. Proto is so consistent. He has great stage coverage. He has great matchup coverage. And he's basically only losing to the other super top players in Japan, like Zachary. I think in winners he lost to Komei. Komei's really good, and that matchup's a little hard. He's only losing to super top players. He's not really getting upset by people that he shouldn't, in my opinion. Like, technically he shouldn't because he's better than people like Komei, but it's relatively like in the same tier. Like, Komei's top 8 in Japan, you know, like that's acceptable to lose to. He's really, really good. And speaking of another person that is top 8 in Japan, I want to put T in this tier. Again, the tiers aren't ordered necessarily, but T has been doing really well. He did worse at KageDB than Proto did, but he has the same highs. He won a KageDB. He's basically only losing to, again, the other top Japanese players, and he's traveled outside of the country and got wins on other international players such as Gluteny. And I think he beat people like Leon, and he beat a couple of other US players that went to one of the French tournaments he went to, and he did really well. Temple, I think it was, and he just won. And he's winning in Japan, and he's getting top 3 in Japan. And yeah, KageDB maybe bumped him down a little bit, but also one tournament, especially if you're going to 8 or 9, doesn't really put you in a position that is not good. It's like, oh, you're going to more tournaments, therefore you're going to do worse sometimes, and I think that's kind of acceptable. But T is still doing really well at all these tournaments. His lowest placement is 9th. That's insane. That's so good, right? And I think Proto and T are probably comparable. I would probably, if I had to pick, Proto's a little higher, but I also think that T overall does better in the States as well. So if they were to travel, I would bet more on T doing better. And the last person in this category is the aforementioned Gluteny. He is the best player in Europe by far. And that's no shots at the other European players. There are plenty of really good ones, but he is just incredible. His Wario, even post-nerf, has been incredibly explosive. He's beat a lot of American top players that went to Wanted. I think he beat all of them. One of the most consistent players in the world. He will only lose to these super top players. He loses to Leo, he loses to Tweak, he might lose to Spargo, he would lose to T, which I mentioned he's already on the list. He will basically only lose, and like Meister, he will only lose to the top 10. He is so consistent. The one upset that I can remember him experiencing is when he lost to Dakpo at Genesis before the pandemic. And I don't know if he was to lose to someone like that. And no, again, that's no offense to Dakpo, it's just Gluto is so consistent. He's just really good. He's really consistent. It is so hard to just beat Gluto. It's so hard. Like, he's so good at comebacks because of Waft and just his tenacity as a player. He is so impressive. He's so impressive. And putting him anywhere other than top 10 is an insult to him. Basically, he does it with a character he's loved for forever. He played Wario in Brawl and Smash 4 and Ultimate, and he's been a threat the entire time. I don't put him in top 5 though, because the top 5 have consistently shown that they're only losing to each other, basically, maybe one person outside of that, and they have been overall so incredibly. So in the top 5, the first player of that is going to be Zachary. Zachary just won KageDB 5, which was his first KageDB win with Sora. Granted, some people didn't know the matchup probably, but I watched the sets, which you can watch that on my YouTube, because I now analyzed those, but he was so impressive. His fundamentals of the game, which carry over for all the characters he played, whether it was Rob, whether it was Joker when he was playing Mario for a little bit, Game & Watch for a little bit, he's played so many characters, and he has excelled with all of them. He's just been super good. He's been so impressive. The fact that he can beat the other top Japanese players like Shuton and Proto Banham and T and Komei and everyone, every player in Japan, Zachary has, I feel like, a 50% or better chance of beating, except maybe Proto right now, which is like 45%. And he's impressive. And he basically has only lost to either the other top Japanese players like Proto, T, I think he's lost to Atelier, and he lost to Aka, I forget his full name, but Aka the hero player. But then he's like, oh, he went to Summit and destroyed everyone except for Leo and Spargo. Like, he straight up destroyed everyone. He had a close set kind of with Void, but I think it was 3-1, and in pools he destroyed everyone. Like, it wasn't close. So he's one of those super consistent players that I feel like just is so close to getting a Leo win. It's so close to getting a Leo win. He needs it. But yeah, Zachary is definitely up here. And his win with Sora, I feel like, just kind of cements him as like one of those people like Leo and like Tweak that are just like, oh, I can win as anyone. It can be Rob, it can be Joker, it can be a new character like Sora. So impressive. Next up in this top 5 list, again, this tier isn't ordered. These 4 people aren't really ordered. The next one is going to be Meister. Meister is Mr. Consistency. I feel like the player that is the least upset prone in the world, except Leo, is Meister. I don't know who Meister loses to, except his fellow Mexican brethren in Spargo and Chag and Leo. And then sometimes Tweak, sometimes Mars, and like that's it. Like, that's all he loses to. He lost to Light, but he beat Light. He's at least, like, positive on basically every other person. I think he's positive on Chag, too. He's just so good. He is so consistent. And especially if you knock out Summit, he just beats all the people I feel like he even shouldn't be beating. Like, Cola. He got a win on Lars for the first time ever, and he's 1-1 on them for recently. Like, that's insane. I feel like Meister is so good. And he does it with, of course, a character that for some reason people underrate. I think that character's broken. I think he's like top 10. He's just insane. He's incredible, and I want to see him play some of the people that he struggled with before the pandemic, like T, if they play at main stage, because those sets are always super fun. That matchup's hella even. It's super fun to watch, but Meister just like doesn't lose to people he shouldn't, ever. Like ever. And it's been so impressive to watch his consistency grow since the end of Smash 4, beginning of Ultimate. He is clearly, in my opinion, a top 5 player, and I don't think there's an argument against that. I'm actually going to order the top 3 because I'm a jerk. So I'm going to put the top 3 in order. Number 3 is going to be Tweak. Before this list, I had him definitively as number 2, but I feel like between SmashCon and Port Priority, the player above him has just been a little more consistent, and Tweak has been really good. But again, he is losing to people that are not necessarily on this list, like Dark Wizzy, like Goblin, who, I mean, he's honorable mention, even though he's won a couple majors, which, again, if you want to put that above the person who hasn't won a major who's above him, it's just been really impressive to watch Tweak. You know, he's incredibly consistent overall. He got 4th at Port Priority, he got 9th at Low Tide, he won Summit, he got 2nd at Riptide. Just really good overall. His Diddy's super consistent. I feel like his Diddy is really good in terms of like helping how he plays, right? Because Tweak sometimes would struggle to get the last hit, but I feel like Diddy Kong is not a character that struggles getting the last hit because you have Banana. Of course, he has the ability to beat Leo. He has the ability to beat any single person on this list, clearly. I think very clearly. Like, I think the only person he doesn't have a win on that like he's played multiple times is like Goblin and maybe Wrath, and those are very obscure players relatively. So again, I think that Tweak has just been incredible, right? Like, Tweak's been so good, and you could argue him number 2 for sure, but I think that the number 2 goes to Spargo. I have to admit, I was a Spargo doubter. I didn't think Spargo was as good as people thought he was. I thought that Spargo wasn't going to be as consistent. I thought he would choke under tournament nerves. I thought he would get nervous, and he has got nervous, but he's getting nervous in top 3 and top 2. I really wasn't expecting him to have the consistency that he does, but he is so consistent. Spargo got 3rd at Summit, 3rd at Riptide, 3rd at Low Tier City, 2nd at SmashCon, and 2nd at Port Priority. He's literally just lost to the other super top players. He's lost to Tweak, he's lost to Leo, he's lost to Light. Has he lost to Meister? I don't know. And he's just brickwalling a lot of people. He's brickwalling Elegant. He's brickwalling Mars. He's brickwalling Meister sometimes. Like, he's had good records versus Meister. He beat him at SmashCon. He's just so good. The only questionable loss that Spargo has had so far is Wadi. Wadi, of course, a really good player, but definitely Spargo is, as I'm putting, top 2, and Wadi is somewhere in top 30 or 40. And then he got 4th at that tournament, or 3rd at that tournament anyway, with a huge-ass losers run, beating a ton of top players. Spargo has been nothing short of immaculate. He's been so good, and it's been so impressive to watch him be as consistent as he is. And I feel like in situations that I feel like he has the Leo factor of pulling stuff out of his ass when he really should lose. I feel like he definitely should have lost to Jackal. I feel like he definitely should have lost to Louis Money at Low Tide, and he doesn't, and he just wins. And He doesn't lose to matchups I feel like he should, and I feel like he doesn't lose to people that are explosive except for Light, and maybe I think I could do well, but I haven't played him yet. He's been so good, and he has only been outclassed by a single player, and that is the objective, inarguable #1 in the world, and that's MKLeo. MKLeo has lost 2 tournaments since offline kind of started back up, and that is Summit against Tweak and Glitch against me. Hi. And not only has he been beating everyone, he's been doing it with Byleth. Mostly. Like 99% Byleth. Which is crazy. Because Byleth isn't that good, I swear to God, Byleth's not that good. My take, of course. He has a winning record at this point, post-pandemic, on every single player. I think Tweak is 2-2, and he beats everyone else. He beats Meister, he beats Spargo, he beat Zachary at Summit, he beat DeBuzz, he beat Mars, he would beat Goblin, Louis Money, Cola, Elegant, Light. He beats everyone, and if he loses, he beats them anyway, and he beats the people, and sometimes he gets lucky, and sometimes he's so solid, like he low-key should have lost to Cola, and he low-key should have lost to Meister a couple times by now, but like he doesn't, and he wins, and he's so consistent. He's the most consistent player in the world. He has got no worse than second place since Gommel in 2019. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna go check that. First at Poor Priority, first at Low Tide, second at Glitch 8.5, first at Riptide, second at Summit, first at the Smash World Tour Central America, first at Frostbite, second at Genesis, first at Congo Saga. And I know these are like less relevant because they're super long ago, but like just looking at his list, he literally got 4th at Gommel in May of 2019. And that's the last time he didn't get top 2 in an offline event. That's insane. So consistent. I thought maybe Zachary was going to be more consistent when he came back, or Tweak was going to be more consistent, and Leo said, no, I'm that dude, I'm that boss. Like, he's so good. He's so good. He's ridiculous. And if people actually force him to go off Byleth, he has a really good Joker and a really good Aegis, but he doesn't even need to. The only person, there have been like 3 people to make him not go Byleth. One of them is me. He had to go Joker against, I forget his name, one of the snakes at Smash World Tour. He went Pyramithra against Zachary or something? Oh, and DeBuzz. And DeBuzz made him go Joker as well. So like he's only gone not Byleth against a couple people. And then he normally wins when he doesn't, which is crazy. But Leo's so consistent. He loses occasionally, but he also loses to other top 10 players, aka me and Tweak. Those are the only 2 people he's lost to, and DeBuzz. But like he beat Mars with Byleth. He beats Spargo with Byleth. He beats literally everyone with Byleth, which is so impressive. He's just so consistent, playing a character he loves that isn't even the best character in his roster in terms of like tier list wise, because Joker and Pyramithra are clearly better than Byleth, I think is very easy to say. But he's just so impressive, and I don't know how he can not be #1. Like, I don't know in what world people just start beating Leo to the point where he's not #1. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So yeah, that's my list. As I mentioned, it was 11 because it was really hard to make the decision of me and Elegant, so I just put both of us on the top 10. So again, really quickly, just to go over it: #1, Leo; #2, Spargo; #3, Tweak; #4/5 is Meister and Zachary; 6 through 8 are Gluteny, Proto Banham, and T; and 9 through 11 are Light, Elegant, and myself, with 5 honorable mentions of Cola, Louis Money, Mars, Goblin, and DeBuzz. What do you think of the list? Do you agree or disagree? Who did you want to see on this, and who do you think can get on it? Let me know down in the comments. I'm very curious. As always, social media, Panda, and party stuff is down below, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.
Pikachu, busted.